going to do a little video showing some counterfeit Spyderco stuff. This is to educate everyone out there in what to look for in counterfeit knives. Spyderco is a very popular knife company and brand, so obviously it is counterfeited quite a bit. There's multiple models that are counterfeited. I know the Dragonfly is what I'm using in this instance. There's many copies of the Dragonfly, the Spyderco Native, the militaries are probably one of the more common ones. Paramilitaries, those models are very often copied or counterfeited. There is a difference between copies and counterfeits. Copies to me is an identical design. A counterfeit is an identical design with fake logos and markings. When you go as far as faking the box, okay, that's a counterfeit. You're trying to, say this is something that it's not. So what I have here is two Spyderco Dragonfly boxes. One is real, one is fake. I want to point out the differences and see if you guys watching can figure out which one is fake. Now, as far as the outside of the box, there's not too many differences here. The only real difference between these two is the one on the right has more of a swoop here. This white portion in the artwork comes all the way down and all the way to the top, whereas on the left you see it's faded off on the top and faded on the bottom. The only other difference really is the color variation in the gold on that Spyder. The one on the right is more of a subdued gold, and the one on the left is more of a yellow gold. Okay, it's a brighter, bolder yellow. Now, can you figure out which one is real and which one's fake? Well, the answer is this one on the left is fake. Okay, the gold Spyder is not really a yellow, it actually mimics real gold. It's kind of a faint gold color, and like I said, the white on the artwork goes all the way down. Now, besides that, pretty much everything else is the same on the box, except for fake on the top. Except for the fact that the fake one, they put a sticker here. You're not going to see a sticker on the back of your Spyderco box. They always put them on the edge, okay, on the insert here, as we all know who buys Spyderco knives. This was for an inventory purpose for this this company that made this, okay? You're not going to see it there, so that was kind of a dead giveaway. But the biggest thing I've noticed, and again, I'll keep the fake on the left for the counterfeit, is with these stickers, okay? They mimic the sticker pretty good. I mean, they catch a lot of the same characteristics as the genuine one, except for one major thing. On the right is the real one. Now, I peeled the corner of the sticker to show you that it is in fact a sticker. Okay, Spyderco makes, thousands of these boxes, and obviously if the knife fits in the box, they can use any model. They'll just designate, put the sticker on there, which will designate what's inside the box. The copy paid close attention to the detail that they have a sticker on here, except they didn't put a sticker on their box. They literally printed that sticker look. Okay, so it's completely smooth. This is printed on. It's not a sticker that was placed on there. Okay, unfortunately, this is a detail that you're not going to be able to check too often or at all, because counterfeits are mainly sold on the internet. I've never once seen a full-blown counterfeit knife in person for sale, which means, and what I'm trying to say is the only place I think you would ever find a counterfeit like that you can pick up and purchase would probably be some kind of a flea market. If there's a stand at a flea market, then you might encounter something like this. I personally never have, but you're not going to find counterfeits in the major sports centers and sports stores where you're going to find your knives or knife outlets. It's just not going to happen. So unfortunately, something like this, if let's say you're buying on eBay or some international website, you get a picture of this, you can't tell if that's printed or a sticker. But from me to you, if you happen to get something in the mail and you're like, something's fishy with this, that should be a sticker. 110 times out of 110 times, I was gonna say 110%, sure that Spyderco is always gonna use these stickers on their boxes as opposed to printing them. So that's what the deal is with the box. Everything else is pretty much the same. As we open them up, this was a Dragonfly. This is the one that I reviewed with the Foliage G10. So I'm not going to use the knife to compare it to this one, simply because they're two different models. All right. Plus, Christina has it. But the fake one here, we'll talk about the knife just a little bit. Paperwork on the fake one is almost identical. All right. I quickly checked it. I don't believe there's any spelling errors. Oftentimes they will spell a word wrong. You will not have a misspelled word on real Spyderco paperwork, but if you want to pause there and look at it, you can certainly check for yourself. But the one thing I did notice as opposed to the real one, which is also a giveaway, is that the real one has just a little piece of dense foam. The fake one has a very thin piece of foam, okay? The boxes are basically put together the same way though. So we can't go by construction of the box. All right, I'm gonna show you the knife real quick. Point out just a couple things you guys can look for in these fakes. When you first get it, it's very convincing. It is a very, very convincing counterfeit of this knife, okay? In looking at it, the blade shape and size is perfect. The markings on this one's perfect. This one, even though this version was full flat ground, this one should be ground like this. The grind lines are okay. There's no major flaws in like how it's ground or anything. The fact that it's not sharp, or not nearly as sharp as it should be an indicator. Pretty much every Spyderco you take out of the box should be very sharp. Okay, I've never ever had any kind of issues with a factory edge. So when you get out of the box, if it's not impressing you, that could be an indicator, of course. Blade markings are correct. All right, they are etched in there properly as well. How the jimping is pretty close to you know, the real deal as well. Even just the slight swedge on the spine there. The handle shape, size, everything's good to go. I noticed the pocket clip is just a hair bigger than a real one, but by itself, without a direct side-by-side comparison, you would never be able to tell that. The one big indicator, there's actually two indicators. The first one is just the fact that, you know, it's the quality. There's total slop in this. Lots of up and down. You can see right here between the blade and that lock back or lock bar. You will never find this in a new Spyderco. Okay, total slop, and that is after I tighten down that pivot. Besides that, when you're opening and closing, I mean, you open a Spyderco, it should snap open. Not like that. It should be much more of an authoritative snap. This is weak. It should tell you something's wrong. But in this particular case, when you close it, there's nothing. There's nothing going on here. There is no pressure from that lock bar. When you're closing a lock back on a Spyderco, when it gets to about here, it sucks in, okay? That's because it's properly cut out, the lock bar to the, you know, the pivot area on that blade, on the base. Okay, just the fact that this is loose and not kind of, you know, locking in tightly, that's, again, an indicator of quality. You're not going to get this poor quality out of a real Spyderco. But visually, what you can check for is on these Dragonfly models, both the pivot screw as well as the screw for the lock bar, what this pivot's on, both of these are going to be female presentation screws. What I mean by that is that when you're looking at it on this side of the knife, okay, if you're holding like this, it would be the left side of the knife, or, you know, the presentation side when it's in your right hand. They're not screw heads. The pivot is rounded. It's the back side of the screw. The screw head is on the reverse. On these counterfeits, you have a screw head on both sides. In fact, you have screw heads on both sides for all of the hardware on here. Okay, that should be a visual indicator for you that it is fake. Besides that, the body screw, it's actually a different size. It should be a much smaller Torx, okay? But visually, when you take it out of the box, you see this, the screw head on here. You turn it over, there it is again. Totally not a Spyderco. They're always just a rounded female part of the screw. So all it's gonna look like is a little silver dome. That is the biggest visual element that tells me this is fake before you even touch it. All right, because you're not gonna be able to handle these knives. You're gonna be looking at pictures of them. So this is the most important key to this, is that when you're looking at pictures of these, if they show that screw head in the pivot, and especially right here, it's no good. All right, pass up on it. You're not gonna wanna get that. Also, I think the most obvious, and this should be very, very obvious to anyone, even if you're new to knives, the price on this was $3.85. I'll say that again, it was $3.85. If that's not the biggest indicator that this is not real, I don't know what is. All right, I got this on purpose for this video, for this demonstration, to let everyone be more aware of these counterfeits that are out there in the marketplace, okay? Price should be the #1 factor. If a knife is selling for $50 all day long, all across the internet, and you find it somewhere for $11.95, it's not real. Okay, especially if you're buying it from a company as opposed to a person. Now, if you're buying it on the forums, prices could be anything. Some people give awesome deals on the forums. You know, eBay, someone might have a knife, they don't know what it is, so the prices could be low, you know, tremendously low in some cases. You just get a great deal. But when you're talking about buying it from a store for that much of a markdown, like if you're looking at a price that's half of what it should be, there's no way it's real, because the company would never make money on it. They couldn't possibly find a source to buy them and resell them at half of what everyone else is selling them for, you know, and still make a profit. So, you know, try to use common sense. You have to research something. If you're looking at a specific knife model, you know, look at 10 different sites at least. Find that knife for sale at 10 different places. You'll see a fluctuation in price. Depending on how expensive it is, I mean, the more expensive it is, the bigger the fluctuation. Like if you're talking about a $300 knife, you might find it for $250 here, $310 there, $270. That's a big flux, but it's because it's more expensive. If you're talking about a knife that's 50 bucks, you'll find it for anywhere from 40 to 60. If you see it somewhere for 20, it's not real. Okay, you can't think that, oh man, that's just an awesome deal. You got to use some common sense. You have to ask yourself, how? How is it that cheap? How is this person making money if it's a business? You know what I mean? So ask yourself those questions, and you know, check the forums, check other YouTube videos. There's great information out there. You just have to find it. Educate yourself so you don't make the mistake of buying something that is counterfeit. It's unfortunate because a lot of people, especially when they're new to the game, they don't have a great understanding as to pricing of knives, and you know, they don't know offhand what models cost. They may just happen to see a lower price and think, oh, this is a great deal, and of course they're disappointed every single time that they find out that the quality is just not what they expected. This is even more so a dangerous situation for people who don't know anything about knives. Let's say you hop on YouTube, you're watching a video, and oh, knives, cool. I like to get into knives. I keep hearing about Spyderco, and then you go, you have no idea what the cost is at all. You type in Spyderco Dragonfly, you find this, and you go, wow, that's awesome. I mean, I don't think you'd think it was $3, but let's say you find it for 20 or 30 somewhere. You go, okay, great, and you get it. You have no reference whatsoever. Unfortunately, I think there's people out there who, for their very first knife from a company, they get a counterfeit, and they go, you know what? Spyderco kind of sucks. This is not a good knife, and then they just never buy Spyderco anymore because they have no idea, you know, what they're like, because they have a representation that has nothing to do with the company. Anyway, just wanted to make this video talking about this counterfeit Dragonfly, giving some tips to people who are in the market for all these different knives. You know, that price seems too good to be true. It's because it is. It's too good to be true. Anyway, I didn't show you the logo. Let me zoom in. I think you get better quality this way, so it's not blurry. All right, so they're mimicking, I mean, the texture and the handle scales. Like I said, that logo, the wire clip, the whole deal. I mean, of course, you won't get rust with your brand new knife. Again, that should be an indicator. But I mean, most of these details they're getting on these knives, and it's scary. The sizes of them are almost identical. The looks of them are almost identical. But you know what? As close as they get to the real deal, they always screw up somewhere. You know, it's all in the details. And something like having the proper hardware can make the difference between a successful counterfeit and a inferior one. Because unfortunately, some counterfeit knives out there look so close to the real ones, people buy them, they think they're real, they love them, you know, because they don't have any reference, they don't know what it's supposed to be like, you know, and they're completely fooled by it. So anyway, that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Take care.